What do we make of the ever-changing Washington Commanders offense with so many injuries? How do you handle the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Kansas City wide receiver core in week 4? And what is the best way to put yourself in the best position to win an FFPC Main Event or FFPC Big Gorilla Championship for that $1 million grand prize after 3 weeks of play? Once again, this is the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. We are pleased to be welcome once again Stephen LaFountain, the 4th place team in the FFPC Big Gorilla contest, as well as Ferrell Elliott. We've got a great show for you tonight. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour starts now.
Can't stand the pressure. I've seen greater men than me.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now watching the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. Welcome to the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Ferrell Elliott. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for analysis from the best players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Ferrell Elliott.
Solace in the scripture. Are we not all our father's sons? I became a man. Nobody ever told me what a man was.
Good evening and welcome to all you Ferrelliacs and Balkaholics. This is the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by the Fantasy Football Players Championship over at myffpc.com. That is myffpc.com. So glad to have you aboard tonight. This is going to be a fun show for sure. You can connect with me on the X at Eric Balkman. You know me from the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown, the FFPC, the Fantasy Football Players Championship, and of course, the FFPC Insider Access Show on the Better Sports Network. Going to be a fun show tonight as we head into week 4. Can you believe it's week 4? I feel like every single podcast and stream you listen to is like, oh my God, it's week 4 already. Yes, it's week 4. This is where we're at right now, but it's so exciting to be here. And I want to welcome you in tonight for this evening's show. It's going to be a good one. We have Ferrell Elliott standing by, the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship Commissioner and the definitive Commissioner of Fantasy Football. You can connect with him on the X at Ferrell Elliott and check out his Kentucky Fantasy Football Championship at KFFSC.com. So good to be joined by Stephen LaFountain tonight, coming up later on in the program in about 15 minutes or so. He is the 4th place team owner heading into week 4 of the FFPC Big Gorilla as he chases a $1 million grand prize. No stranger to winning, to a winner of several FFPC leagues going forward here in the past as well. And he's looking to cash in a 7-figure grand prize here as well. If you want to connect with the show on X, it is at HSFF You can email the show at highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com, facebook.com/HSFF if you want to post your questions, comments, queries, quibbles, and complaints there. If you want to send anything to us, go there, or, the X post that we have, the chat room questions, fantasy feedback segment, is going to be up on the last segment of the show tonight, and we'll get to everything there. I want to shout out our only audio engineer and my best friend Bryce, and of course our producer and mutual friend Rob. If you are looking for weekly action in the Fantasy Football Players Championship, go ahead and check out myffpc.com for the FFPC Weekly Challenge. There's no draft. There's no salary cap. Just pick 10 players or 12 players if you want to play with kickers and defenses. You can win up to $2,500, 10, 30, and 100 team contests. Only one player per NFL team there. Keep that in mind as well. myffpc.com is where to go. Remember, if you want Calvin Austin, you cannot have Aaron Rodgers. If you want Jordan Addison, you cannot have Jordan Mason. That is the slant on it. It's basically the carbon copy of our FFPC World Famous Playoff Challenge, which we'll introduce coming up at the end of the season as well. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment on the video, share it with your friends, share it with your enemies, and get notified each and every time we go live, which will be coming up Tuesday. And we'll get you up to date on everything we got going on next week on the FFPC families of podcasts. So I want to bring up a lively chat room right now, ladies and gentlemen. A ton of people chiming in right now. We'll kick things off right now with James Hicks, my buddy from Team Porkies and KFFSC. Good evening, Ferrell, Balky, and Oinker. The weekend starts now. Oinker's very excited for the weekend, and he is hanging out with us tonight as well. James also wants to know, what do we make of Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt? Is he Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, the law firm, or is he Bill, the ambulance-chasing lawyer we see on billboards and annoying TV ads, roster clogger or hold? Yeah, this is an interesting conversation. And I brought this up with God, who was I talking? I think it was Jack Miller from Established the Run on FFPC Insider Access last night. And I said, and he agreed with me. I said, the proper way to handle this is you go with rostering every single one of the Commanders running backs, from Krosky-Merritt to Jeremy McNichols to Chris Rodriguez. But as it stands right now, you start none of them, agree or disagree. And Jack said he agreed. And I think that's the way to do it. You want to make sure that you have these players on your roster, but you have to wait till these things kind of sort themselves out. Right now, these things are not sorted out. Krosky-Merritt, to me, is not startable on a non-bye week unless you got hit with big-time injuries. He's a player that should be on your bench. Same thing with Rodriguez. Same thing with Jeremy McNichols. I think that's the way we have to look at it at this point right now. So hopefully that helps you out. James, Tom Smith, happy Friday, Balky and Ferrell. Let's get these oinkers oinking. Yeah, they already are oinking as well. And then John Terry. I'm going to bring this up right now because I'm going to bring in Ferrell Elliott in a second. I'm going to bring in my trusty John Terry Las Vegas Raiders chain right now that he gave to me as a gift in honor of Ferrell Elliott anytime we talk about the Vegas Raiders. And quite frankly, since John is hanging out with us tonight, I'm going to bring this on as well. John gave me this gift because we were at Paris Casino in Las Vegas for the FFPC live events this year, and I don't know if John has seen me wear this yet. I'm going to wear it on the stream right now. This is the Parisian beret, the French beret, in channeling the Griswold family in National Lampoon's Las Vegas European Vacation. I have the bulky beret right now that I'm wearing as we answer his question, and I'll bring in our Las Vegas Raiders expert. He is the definitive commissioner of fantasy football. Please welcome into the program, Mr. J. Ferrell Elliott. Ferrell, welcome in tonight. So good to have you on. I'm in full gear. I got the Paris FFPC beret on, courtesy of John Terry. I got the Raiders chain on, courtesy of John Terry. And he's asking us right now what we project for Trey Tucker the rest of the season. Good evening to you, sir. And what do you think about Tucker?
What do I think about Tucker? I think I was maybe a year and a half too early, Balky. We were beating the drums for him 2024. He's a wonderful best ball player. It will be very, very frustrating to figure out when you should start Trey Tucker. And those that started him last weekend get a tip of my cap. And in the variety of teams that we have in the FFPC and in the 684 teams we have in Kentucky, I want someone to step up and say they started him last week. But to that point, Trey Tucker's always been a deep threat. He's got a quarterback that can, on selected games, get him the ball. And he's going to be in a situation where the Raiders are going to be trailing quite often, and there'll be balls flying around. The running back's going to get his. The tight end's going to get his. Myers is going to get his. But as long as Trey Tucker can beat the secondary and beat them deep and Geno can get him the ball, you could have some plus games. But, what you said earlier about bye week situations for Krosky-Merritt, there is your Trey Tucker situation as well, I think.
I'll bring this up in regards to Trey Tucker. Dante Thornton was a darling of a lot of people during drafting season, and he has failed to show out thus far. And quite frankly, he's a rookie. He shouldn't be showing out this far. You have Jack Besh and Jacoby Myers, who I think are a duplication of skills. You have Brock Bowers, who's hobbled right now. Who is the guy that's on the field a ton? Who is the best field stretcher on that team? Not only is this guy a lid lifter, Ferrell, but I think Trey Tucker has a role on this team just in normal passing situations. And I think that's something we couldn't say about Tucker in years past, and we could say it about him this year. I went heavy on him in a few Kentucky leagues, a few private dynasty leagues. I definitely needed him in a couple of private dynasty leagues as well. So we'll see what happens there with Trey Tucker. Adam Hahn joining us tonight. Apparently, Philadelphia Eagles pass catchers are fantasy relevant when a team gets to build a double-digit lead on them. But how many teams can do that? And I think this is interesting to bring up, Ferrell. We were very excited to see, or at least I was excited to see, what A.J. Brown could do for me this past week. But it took the Eagles getting down 19 to the Rams. And Devonta Smith, he was involved, but not heavily involved. And Adam brings up a good point. If this is what it takes for the Eagles pass offense to come alive, how many teams are going to get up 3 touchdowns on Philly this season? I don't see it.
No. That passing game is exactly what it's going to be last year. And there's one guy that runs it. It's A.J. Brown. Smith contributes. Goddard when he's healthy. That's what it looks like. And as long as Barkley is approaching 5 yards of average carry, and as long as the tush push is legal in the league, that's what you get when you get involved with Devonta Smith. And that's why, as Balky, I know you have an intravenous drip to Darren Armani and all of his information. And that is why you could tell us that Devonta Smith never moved much further. Was it a 6th-round draft pick? And now on a roll back. If anyone in Jack Beck's camp is listening to the aspect that you said he had interchangeable skills with Jacoby Myers, you just made Christmas for him in September. How sweet it is that that could be. And speaking of Christmas and gift giving, Balky, right now I have you at 2 gifts from John Terry. The commission down here in Kentucky, we have 0 gifts from John Terry. 0 gifts from John Terry. But I love the John Terry. John Terry showed up in Kentucky for his first trip this year and was an absolute perfect gentleman. Perhaps we can attribute that to his being with his running buddy Biplab, but he was a pleasure to have, and I can't wait till he returns.
Yeah, Biplab, Mandel, John Terry, both top 10 in the KFFSC main event heading into week 4, which is awesome. For sure that we're seeing that so far this season. And as John said, too bad week 3 doesn't pay out. Yeah, it's a long way to go. And for those of us who are chasing Terry and Mandel, we are very excited that it is a long way to go. So we have the chance to catch them for sure. Permar 99, Ferrell, our good buddy. I have Luther Burden and Torrey Horton as stashes. Do I drop one of them to pick up Jalen Coker? I don't think so. What say you? And I'm going to tell you right now, I'd love to have Luther Burden on my team. I'd love to have Torrey Horton on my team. Quite frankly, I do have Jalen Coker on a few of my teams. If it comes down to it, where the only way I can acquire Coker on one of my teams is dropping Horton or dropping Burden, I draw the line there. I'm with Permar on this. I would rather have Burden. I'd rather have Horton than Jalen Coker at the back end of my roster right now. Ferrell.
He's asking for advice, and you gave him some very solid.
And I want to bring up before we get in our guest, Stephen LaFountain is coming up right now, the 4th place team in the FFPC Big Gorilla heading into this week of play. I want to bring up some stuff that came up in the last few hours here, Ferrell, just to kind of get your take on it going forward. As the final or the Friday injury reports came out for a lot of teams today. Bashal Tutin was removed from the injury report. He's going to play in week 4 against the 49ers. I'm of the opinion that you keep Tutin on your roster. Not willing to play him this week, even as a flex. Is that how you fall in on this as well?
You can't find many running backs on the waiver wire, Balky. If you've got one that any kind of promise, hang on to him.
Tom Smith wants to know, as we continue our Raiders conversation, he wants to know if Ashton Genty is going to get rolling versus the Bears this week. I know that a lot of rookies struggle early on in the season. We have seen a lot of rookies, more so wide receivers, but it's happened with running backs, Ferrell, pick it up at the end, the back end of seasons, the second half of seasons. I don't think we're going to have to wait too long for Genty. I do think he has a nice game this week. I'm looking at 15-plus fantasy points, maybe even 20. So I'm betting big on Genty this week. How do you think he's going to fare against that Bears defense?
I think he'll do well. And I think if he can quit being contacted behind the line of scrimmage, he may just have a chance. Watch that defensive, that first, any opposition that you're playing against this weekend or moving forward, there's little he can do if he's being touched in the backfield the minute he gets the ball. Mm-hmm. So that compromises every running back skill set. But these people that are talking about Genty being a bust must not be watching the same games.
Yeah, there's plenty of people. I can't remember who said this week. I think it was like Graham Barfield or somebody from Fantasy Points was saying, or maybe it was Adam Harstad from Football Guys said that if you look at the history of draft capital, metrics, and rookie running backs off to slow starts, like Ashton Genty was, and the people that are getting compared to Trent Richardson, more often than not, they end up the opposite of Trent Richardson.
Yeah.
So I am still very much Team Genty, still very much Team Omari and Hampton as well.
Wow.
As we go forward with these rookie running backs. Ricky Pearsall questionable to play against the Jaguars this week as we stick with San Francisco. He did not practice Wednesday, got in a limited practice yesterday, limited practice on Friday. Juwan Jennings got a limited practice in today. And I think that if he is able to go against the Jaguars, that hurts Pearsall a little bit. But Ferrell, I am breaking ties in favor of Ricky Pearsall this week, and I'm breaking ties against Juwan Jennings as far as starting lineups go. Is that the way you see it as well?
I do, and I would add that health is a question here. Quarterback might be a question here, but one of the things that I think everyone in fantasy football needs to look at is the power of the Jacksonville Jags defense. They're ball hawking corners that are not afraid to get physical, and they're the type that could frustrate a player like Pearson. So you add that into the mix, and it might be good to look somewhere else. You've got a full roster of 20 players. Chances are you drafted a lot of good players. You probably didn't draft them as high with the draft capital that you had to spend on Pearsall and Jennings, but you still got good receivers that you can mix in.
Permar99 also says, by the way, he is rolling with Matthew Golden over Jamison Williams this week in his second flex. He feels great about it. And I will say this to Permar. I think he was alluding to what happened on the FFPC Insider Access show last night. And I said I would still rather play Jamison Williams over Matthew Golden. And while I do stand by that, I think I'd rather play Williams than Golden this week. I will say that I'm much more bullish on Golden than I was over the last 48 hours. Obviously, we know that Jaden Reed is not going to play. We know Tucker Kraft is still banged up, and we know the Dallas secondary cannot cover deep. So while I'll still say Jamison Williams over Golden this week, it's much closer for me right now. And I don't think it's a bad start to play Golden over Jamison Williams. Ferrell, if it comes down to Golden and Whiskey Bill, who are you playing in week 4?
It's not even a decision. You're playing Whiskey Bill. Detroit rolls back into their home stadium. This is a player that's paid his dues that deserves a start. Golden may be a good player. Balky, you say that the Dallas Cowboys cannot defend deep. Well, they haven't yet, but they practiced all week. Let's see what happens.
Yes, we will see what happens. I mean, like if this was the panacea that they needed, was a full week of practice heading into this Packers game, then listen, they help on that.
They showed up and watched some film.
Right, exactly. Ray C wants to know, as far as quarterbacks go for Ray C this week, Geno Smith for the Raiders, who is taking on the Chicago Bears, or Jared Goff, who's at home against the Cleveland Browns, a defense that really stymied the Packers offense last week. Who you got this week, Ferrell, Smith or Goff? We
always play Jared Goff at home. That's why we drafted him. Geno Smith, it's hard to pick Geno roulette of which game that he's going to play. Now, you would expect him to bring this one together, and you would expect him to get mid-20s points. But I'm just going to look at Jared Goff in an offense that I can really respect, and a player that knows how to play in that home stadium. And you add in the variety of talent that is around Goff. And that's hard to beat. So let's go with Goff.
I'm actually going to roll with Smith. I got burned on him last week. I know he's at home this week, and he plays really well at home. But, man, the way that Geno Smith is launching the ball down the field, I'm just salivating for the big plays.
And sometimes, Balky, I think that the quantity and quality of bourbon that you consumed at the KFFSC has washed all logic from your tongue. But I will not abuse you on Geno Smith, and God bless you. Go with it.
God bless you, my friend. Couple more before we get to Steve LaFountain, the fourth place team owner in the FFPC Big Gorilla. Steve Yergalos, Fantasy Sopranos. Brian Thomas Jr. is destroying me Yes, he is not helping anybody with, who has him on his team right now. Ferrell, I'm playing the long game. I'm not panicking. I understand that this is a player that has really let us down the first 2 weeks. I still think that based on what I saw last year, really tough for me to see him just fall off the face of the earth this year. I'm still playing him, maybe with a little bit less confidence than I had in weeks 1 or 2, but I'm still playing him, and I still have faith that he is going to perform and get close to his draft capital this year.
You should. There is variance in this young players game. Jacksonville's a team that I looked away from in the draft, and so far I was correct because of the production of Thomas and the production at the tight end position has not been there. But Travis Etienne has been a fine producer in the backfield. These games have ebb and flows to them. Thomas will get his. So far, no good, but we could say that about a number of players drafted in that area. You can't, before we get to October, you can't give up on your draft strategy. You guys are very, very good drafters. You have reasons you make those picks. You thought about them all summer long, and you put them into motion, both online and live at the FFPC. You must understand that you were right then. You've been proven wrong early, but Balky's given you great advice.
We'll try to give some great advice to Tom Smith here. He's got a choice between Brock Purdy or Justin Fields. Purdy practiced today. He is a full go against the Jaguars on Sunday at home. Justin Fields coming back off that concussion. He's going to go, but he goes down to Miami on the road, but it is the Dolphins. I'm rolling with Purdy here, Ferrell. I understand that Fields maybe has the higher upside, but I think Purdy's the stronger start for me for Tom Smith here. What say you?
If you ever believe in Fields, this is probably the week to play him. However, Tom, if you're talking about your teams, both of them that are in the top 10 in the KFFSC, you don't need a hero performance from your quarterback, and Purdy will give you exactly what you need to fill in with the rest of your roster. Depends what your roster needs. If you're off to an 0-3 start and you're down in the second half of your division, run Fields out there and try to get that plus 10 over Purdy, but you really don't need
it. We do need this for our show tonight. Our guest, ladies and gentlemen, a multi-time winner in the FFPC over the course of the main event and our mid-stakes contest. Speaking of our mid-stakes contest, he currently sits in 4th place overall in the FFPC Big Gorilla heading into week 4. He's got a heck of a team, and he's going to join us tonight to talk about that squad, his other teams, and so much more going on in the FFPC. Please welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Steve LaFountain. Steve, welcome aboard tonight. Happy Friday night. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Oh, no. Steve, you're muted.
You may be on mute.
Steve, get off mute.
And hold on. I think I might have the problem. So I'm going to test something here, Ferrell. I'm going to take off my French beret and see if that somehow unlocks the audio for one Steve LaFountain. Steve,
Steve.
Are you with us?
No, he's still not there.
Oh, he can't. Now he can't. Might not be able to hear us as well. This is a problem. Ladies and gentlemen. He can hear us, but we cannot hear him.
You got to unmute. Got to unmute.
I'm going to try something here. I tried muting and unmuting him. We'll see. It might be on the settings there because he can hear us, which is good. We want to hear that, but most importantly, we want to hear from the dude who is this close to the top of the mountaintop in the FFPC.
Go ahead, Steve.
Contest. Steve, we got you now? No, still on mute. I'm sorry, Steve. This is a problem. Hold on. Let's try to figure this out. I'm gonna private message Steve here and see if we can figure this out to make
maybe
sure.
If Steve would go to his telephone and come in that way.
That's a
Craig Campbell had to do that.
Try your phone.
Log on with your phone, buddy.
And see if that happens. See if that works, Steve. And you'll be able to get on video on your phone too. You can use that same link that I sent you, and you should be able to log on with your phone there, and that may help us out. Ferrell, by the way, this gives us a good opportunity right now. Do you have the questions for Steve? Because I'm seeing something weird with the rundown tonight.
Yeah, I've got the questions for Steve.
You do. Okay, so this is on
You
my.
want me to send them to you?
No, I have them. I'm just looking at my show sheet tonight, and my show sheet looks jacked up, and that's normally what I send.
I'm good to go, buddy. I've got the engines on the 747 rumbling. I want to take off down that runway and let's get flying here.
Okay, hold on. There we go.
There he is.
All right, let me close my laptop.
Perfect.
We got to turn one of them off.
He's got it. He's way ahead of it, Ferrell. Steve, good evening and welcome to you. Once again, technology falls in the face of great FFPC high-stakes players as Steve LaFountain has defeated it tonight. Good Friday evening to you. How you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing real good, man. How about you guys?
We're doing good. Not as good as you. On the cusp of granted, there's a long season to go, but seeing your name up at the top of the leaderboard for $1 million grand prize, dude, that's got to be awesome.
Yeah, it's a strong feeling. You know, I've been doing fantasy football since back in the days where it was in a newspaper. You know, me and a bunch of guys would get it wrong back in the early 2000s, like even late 90s. But, you know, you get a little better each year you do this, and I'm sure you can see by the amount of leagues I do that I enter quite a bit of them, mainly because I win a lot of them. You know, it's a nice source of income on the side.
Mr. LaFountain, is your last name French by derivation?
It is French. It is pronounced LaFountain, but it is French.
Well, put that back on.
Beret back on. I got the beret back on in honor of Steve tonight here. Steve, when you are not having a French surname in winning all these FFPC leagues over the course of your career, dating back to the 90s and the 80s when you started playing with the newspapers, what are you doing for a living right now to supplement, I should say, this,
I've been in restaurants my whole life. I've been an exec chef for the last 23 years.
Wow.
I've been literally in restaurants since I was 14. So I'm heading into my 33rd year of running restaurants. Been in management pretty much since I was 17. And, you know, that's pretty much what brings everything home for the family.
Can we promote any of the restaurants you're affiliated with tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I actually run a private country club in Huntington Beach called the Huntington Club.
We can break in there, Balky.
Currently right now, but, you know, I used to work with some main name places like Mastro's back in the day, and, you know, I was there for like 6 days, and, you know, you just like fantasy football, every year you do it, you get a little better, right?
Right, exactly. Do you have a specialty as far as something maybe you like to eat, or something that you think you're really good at cooking for other people?
You know, still at a core, you know, I came from a pretty, you know, poor family growing up. There wasn't a lot of money. My mom made a lot of stews and pastas, and, you know, I still eat that way. That's my taste still to this day.
Nice.
I can cook everything. I've done any cuisine. I definitely specialize in steakhouses and sushi. Those are definitely my top ends in Asian cuisine. But my tendencies for myself are not what I would cook for guests, you know, because for me, it's pretty simple.
Perfect. I love it. Fantasy football portion in the interview starts now. Ferrell, go ahead with us taking a trip to Buffalo.
It's been pretty simple to head to Buffalo. Just give us some chicken wings and a little bit of James Cook. Now, you know, you don't. My first thoughts when we got to this question was to say, well, James Cook has been wonderful. 20 carries each game since the Baltimore game, and in Baltimore, when he didn't run the ball that well, he caught passes. Two back-to-back 100-yard games versus the Jets in Miami. But Steve, I thought, well, you know, you don't get to play the Jets in Miami every week. And then I looked at his schedule. He's got the Saints coming, New England, the Falcons, and the Panthers. Did you know the schedule when you drafted James Cook, and how fantastic it must be? And it's got to stay that way, don't you think?
You know, I do look at a lot of the schedules, a lot of players. I come up with a list of a couple people every year that I avoid because I'm like, I love them, but I do not love their matchups. I mean, and the worst part is you're in the championship and you're playing the 3 best defenses at the end of the year. It kind of sucks to not look at that in advance. But James Cook, I think it's more of an evolution with him. Let's first off talk about good genes. I mean, Dalvin Cook's his brother, and he comes in, and in my opinion, he runs better and he's got a sturdier build. Dalvin Cook always had that lower waistline and kind of looks like he could tip him over. But, James Cooks runs hard. I think that it's been a 3 years in evolution on him of, he showed up at the end of 2 years ago and then last year had a great season. And I think now they're getting to the point like, hey, we got to let Josh Allen, live. We need him to survive the next few years. He can't be taking all the runs. And then when you lose Stephon Diggs, kind of they're playing egoless wide receiver now. Mm-hmm. So, they're not really looking to call anyone's name. I think they're just constantly looking to get themselves at 3-1, 3-2, 3rd down and 1, 3rd down and 2. And why not run it with him 1 or 2 times, see what he can get you. And he's got big play breakability for a 60-yarder all the time.
Well, 20-plus carries back-to-back weeks. We probably won't see that all year, but, 200 is the most that he had last year. But I love this player's situation moving forward, and, especially with all the injuries and lack of performance for other running back, James Cooks looks like a very wise choice. Congratulations.
I always thought you brought up Dalvin Cook, and I'm a Florida State fan, and I always remember James Cook. He decommitted from Florida State, and it always left a bad taste in my mouth. Mm. But as I was scouting this guy for dynasty stuff, and when he was a rookie, I was kind of like, God, this guy looks like Dalvin Cook was fast, like football fast, not combine fast, but he was football fast. I'm like, God, James Cook is so speedy. And I'll be honest with you, I thought that was his main calling card, but he has shown me a well-rounded game over the last few years.
Mr. Newkirk brings up something very important. He says that having the MVP as your quarterback helps, but he also the various motion that's going on and what those linebackers are doing for the opposition, and all that movement back and forth has got to make it beautiful for a running back, because there's guys moving around on defense that are looking at a lot of different things when they play this team, as well as that MVP quarterback who can tuck the ball and take off. So, yeah, it's a good situation. I think fantasy players were too much concerned about James Cook's contractual status through the early months or through the late months of
I think the biggest upside I saw last year that really sold me on him this year was how many times they actually started giving him doing in the red zone and stopped running Josh Allen as much.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when I saw that, I'm like, you knew he was going to get the 60, 80 yards. The question was inside the 5, it was Josh Allen. Mm-hmm. So, he doesn't get any TDs, but he started getting some TDs last year. In fact, I think he was number 2 or something, right? Like he was pretty high in TDs. So, I just looked at the upside of, hey, plus cold weather ball at the end of the year. I'm from Ohio. I grew up in that stuff. It's, I'm in California now, but I grew up in Ohio. You keep the ball in the safest hands when it's cold outside, and that's going to be Josh Allen and Cook in the end of the year. So figure it's got some end of year aspects to it too.
And the other thing too that I think, I wouldn't say it was one thing that prevented me from drafting a lot of James Cook, but another thing was the fact that he just wasn't on the field on third downs. Ty Johnson's usually out there. He's once again mitigated that. Like this is a situation where it doesn't matter if he's on the field for third down, he's producing, and that's all we care about.
5 catches in the first game versus Baltimore,
which was great. Yeah. I want to shift things not too far from Buffalo, but let's go a little bit further west here, Steve, to Detroit. I heard a lot of pundits over the course of the summer, and I perhaps bought into this a little bit as well, that the John Morton offense in Detroit was going to feature a lot more downfield stuff. In fact, we're going to see the big-time breakout season that we've been waiting for from former first-round pick Jameson Williams for Detroit, and that Amon-Ra St. Brown was going to take a step back. Also working against St. Brown was this off-season knee cleanup surgery that he had as well. And to me, it was like, God, do I really want to pay first or second round draft capital for St. Brown? Or do I want to pay, 6th round or 7th round for Whiskey Bill and getting Jameson Williams on my team? And I definitely ended up with more Williams than St. Brown. You did the opposite. You have much more St. Brown than Williams, and it's been paying off for you so far, especially on your 4th place Big Gorilla team. Can you tell us a little bit about why you were not willing to necessarily buy into the hype on Jameson Williams, and you still were a believer in St. Brown in 2025, a decision that's been proving very fruitful for you so far?
Yeah, honestly, I'm going to give a little bit of my trade secret away here on drafting, but I do a majority of my drafts well before preseason even starts. And I know it's a risk, but the reason I do that is because I feel like the intel I have by the time it gets to after preseason, everyone else is caught up to what I already kind of know going in the season by my gut. Mm-hmm. So I got him at even more of a discount than you'd imagine. I was getting him mid to late second round in a lot of leagues. So I'm a big person on analogies. I use them all day long to inspire my crews and my restaurants. But why in the world would I go pay a lot of money for a high-end Corvette when I can go get a little bit slightly used Ferrari? You know what I mean? So, like, Jameson's the Corvette that he's going to get you. He's going to look pretty. He's going to have those big flashy games. But, man, you know, St. Brown has got amazing hands, great route running. He's always open. He catches almost everything thrown his way. He gets TD passes. They run him out of the backfield. I mean, you're talking about a Ferrari. He touches the ball all the time. And I think people overreact on this. That was not Ben Johnson's team. That was Dan Campbell's team. Mm-hmm. Dan Campbell helped make Ben Johnson. That's pretty evident when you look at Chicago first 3 games, and then Detroit was a little sleepy after week 1, but they quickly woke up, didn't they? You know, and not a whole lot has changed really. That offense looked pretty good versus Baltimore this past week, right? You know, I have nothing against Williams. It's just, if I'm going to sit there and buy Williams in the 4th to 6th round, or I'm going to get Amon St. Brown in late 1 or early 2, man, I'm going to take the guy that I know is going to get the passes. And Jameson missed so much time. I mean, you want to talk about injuries. Jameson Williams missed way more time than St. Brown has.
Yeah. And you look at this situation, the beautiful thing about it is you're not limited to only one Detroit player. So
yeah, that's another good point to bring up as well. Guys, I want to bring up a question from the chat before we move forward here, and it's from Corey Walters, hanging out watching us on YouTube tonight, and he wants to know, and I'm going to throw this to you first, Steve, as far as getting your thoughts on this. What is going on with Sam Laporta right now? So if you look at Laporta's stats over the course of the first 3 weeks of the season, and I think we have to throw in there. Let's add some context on this. Like, Detroit went absolutely crazy against Chicago, and then against Baltimore, they put up a lot of numbers. So it's not like they're, you know, just scuffling along. They're doing numbers here. Obviously, week 1 was kind of the outlier against the Packers, only scoring 13 points, but 52 against the Bears. 38 against the Ravens. This is an offense that's doing numbers. And if you look at Sam Laporta so far this season, 13 catches over 3 games. He's got 138 yards over 3 games, no touchdowns. Not the end of the world here, Steve, but can you give some hope for Laporta Laporta owners going forward, and what you think has been his biggest problem going forward in the first 3 weeks of the season?
Yeah, I mean, that one just kind of, I think it's just bad timing. I think people living a little bit in the past of his rookie year, you know, let's look at it. In rookie year, there was no Jamar Gibbs. They didn't have Montgomery, or he had just came in. Jameson Williams was still out. It was just Amon St. Brown, and Dan Campbell had just gotten there. They were starting to figure things out. They weren't really it. I think it's more of a product of, who do you want him to get the ball? Do you want Jahmyr Gibbs? Do you want St. Brown? Or do you want Williams? Or do you want to check it down to a tight end for 5 yards? I mean, you got big play capability in Montgomery and all those guys. There's no need for them down in the red zone because they can run. Like, why do you want to check out for a 5-yard pass when you can run it for 5 yards with one of 2 great options? You don't have to check it down to Laporta, in my opinion, anymore. And then, you know, the stuff we never know. Maybe the guy's just not the same after having his knee blown out. You know, I mean, maybe they don't want to put him in those positions. Maybe they're still being cautious. Maybe they want to turn him into game script, like the way Kelsey is used in the end zone eventually later in the season. They don't want to show their hands early. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying he has no value, but, you know, you're going to pay a high price to get him in the earlier rounds when you can get someone in the 12th and 14th round for the same value, in my opinion.
And you're dealing with a quarterback that goes through his progressions and does not, as you say, does not check down. He's looking for that 4th and 5th option.
Yeah, he wants that big play. Yeah. And let's be honest, if you had to choose, are you going to throw it to Laporta 4 yards down the field in coverage, or are you going to throw it to Gibbs in the backfield with 1 man in coverage on him? Mm-hmm. I'm going to Gibbs because I'm pretty sure Gibbs could probably break that.
But I think at the end of the day, we're going to see Laporta pay just about what he should pay, or give us just what he should give us for his draft capital, but not beyond that.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to
excel. Here's another tight end I got to talk to you about draft capital. And it's just this matchup with Baltimore and Kansas City this weekend. is difficult for me to realize that one of these teams is going to walk out of this 1-3. And these are my 1 and 2 teams from the AFC to play in the Super Bowl. And I still love watching these teams, and I like what lays in front of them, especially with Baltimore in this division. But let's look at Kansas City with the tight end situation, and that's Travis Kelce. The team came alive a little bit in the second half of their last game against the Giants. And we all saw when Kelce had a good game and was ready to score a touchdown, how the ball bounced off of him and became an interception. Do you think what we're seeing with Kelce is indicative of what's going to be forthcoming? Or do you think we're going to get production that comes back into historical numbers for him, which would add up to 90 or 100 catches?
No, I've loved Travis Kelce. I love everything about him. He's an Ohio boy, just like me. He plays hard, does everything hard, but he's at the end of his career. He's focused on getting married. It's the end of the road. They've already won multiple Super Bowls. They've done everything. I'm not saying the love luster is there, but he's going to be gone in the next year or two. Mahomes is going to keep going another 5-10 years. That team needs to figure out how to play without him. And I think that right now they're trying to figure that out a little bit. I think he's going to still have some key games. I think when it comes to the playoffs, the court's going to always have those games where he just goes off. They will come intermittent. But I think that where you're relying on him for 8 to 10 catches for 85 yards and 1 or 2 touchdowns are over. Yeah. And it sucks because I think he has it, but I think there's mentally something going on, whether they'll admit it or not. But, that first pass thrown to him where on this last game where Mahomes literally missed him, they are not in sync the way they used to be. They had a couple connections in that game, but, man, that was eye-opening. He was 5 yards off where he was supposed to be. One of them was either Mahomes or Kelce. But something's not just jiving the way it was, and maybe it's because the team's told Kelce things we don't know, like, hey, you're not going to see as much play. We need to see what this team looks like for 2026 and 27. I wouldn't be surprised if this is Kelce's last season.
The other aspect that we bring up, and Corey Walters brings us up on YouTube right now with Noah Gray. Is he the next great tight end in Kansas City, or do you think they're going to look elsewhere for the second half of Mahomes' career there, Steve?
What I saw in the last game, it looks to me like they're trying to see if he's got it. Because the routes that Kelce normally got, they were going to Gray. And it was kind of that roll. Whenever you have that rollout to the right, and then did you see the split image of the exact route running that Kelce does, that one where he steps in and he steps out and he's kind of open and he has 5 yards to roll to his left? Did you notice Gray on the next series did the exact same play route?
Yeah.
I don't find that as coincidental. I think that's, can you do what Kelce does? Mm-hmm. So I think they're trying to see if he is. And if he can't, then they might be in the market for one, or they might just go into the field of Iowa and draft one like everyone else seems to do.
There's things I liked about Kelce's foot movement and route running that I did see in the end of that Giants game. It's like he came alive. There's a whole lot of players that seem to be ghost walking in the Kansas City Chiefs right now. But I agree with you. It's since we got Travis Kelce this season, we better be glad we got him because he's a pleasure to watch play football. But I don't think Noah Gray can step into those shoes, and I don't think many tight ends can. So.
It'll be tough, but the other thing too is you won't have the pressure of Gray won't have the pressure of having to be the guy if Thornton keeps playing the way he does, and Rashee Rice comes back, and Xavier Worthy keeps showing out. Gray can just kind of be who he is, and that'll be plenty. In that Kansas City offense. I want to focus it in on week 4 for this next question here, Steve. And Mike Evans not expected to play this week for Tampa. Chris Godwin officially listed as questionable on the final injury report for the Bucs this week. If we look back to last year in those games that Evans and Godwin missed when they didn't have Emeka Egbuka, and I'll admit that right away, Cade Otton was really, really good. You think this is a Cade Otton week against Philly?
I would love to say yes, but, sometimes you got to admit when you draft some things wrong, and I drafted him in a lot of leagues as the late pick. So did I before the season, before McMillan's injury. I had Jalen McMillan in a lot of leagues too. I think he's going to see some volume, definitely, because there's injury. But, they were already starting to get Tez Johnson, which I think people forget how amazing he was in Oregon. And on top of that, you still got Sterling Shepard, who is a veteran, knows how to get open in the slot. I don't think it's going to turn into a Cade Otton game. I think what you might see is full throttle. What can Emeka Mbeka do? You know what I mean? Like, can the guy get 15 catches for 220 yards and 2 touchdowns? I think we might find out this week. I think they're going to just go at him. I think the Cade Otton will definitely see an uptick in some passes from what we've seen the last few weeks. But, man, I was expecting a lot more production after him in the first 3 weeks. But true transparency, I've already started dropping a few leagues because I just don't see it turning around. Because if he wasn't getting it early in the league with Godwin out and Mbuka being a rookie, I don't see how if Evans returns and Godwin's healthy and you got Mbuka, I don't see where he sees any more than 4 or 5 targets a game. But to your point, anything could happen this week. He could have a blowout, but I'm not going to risk it on when I got people like Jake Ferguson in my tight end spot that I could put in there. Who's in a much better position.
I agree with you with that. Ibuka becomes the new Puka. I love that. I think that could be what it happens.
Yeah, only we could combine them and he'd be Puka Egbuka.
Yeah, right.
15 targets, that would be Puka-like. Talk to me about the Rams backfield. Corum ate into a little bit of Kyron Williams' activities this past week. I like Williams, and he's one of the backs I'm counting on this year. Is Corum going to continue to eat away at his opportunities?
If you look at the snaps and the attempts, they are upticking each week, 1 to 5 to 8. Corum's a strong back, man. He's a Michigan product. Egoless. He shared the ball in the backfield then, I think, with Mullings when he was there. So I think of the two people, he's okay with sharing the ball. Kyron Williams is still their bell cow, though. I mean, even though he's getting an uptick, he had 18, 17, and 20. I think the biggest thing in fantasy value is the passes are still going to Kyrie. They're not going to Corum. I think that my worry of a shift is fantasy of Corum would, if I started seeing passes going to Corum, I'd start worrying more about that timeshare factor. But right now, Kyrie's still got the passing backfield option. So if I see him lose some of that, then I would start saying, Corum's starting to work his way into the touch field.
I have to ask in regards to the Raiders situation and I don't want to make this into a Raiders show as much as Ferrell would love that. I know you have Jacoby Myers on. Do you have him on your 4th place team right now, Steve? I don't know if you do. I know you got him on a bunch of teams.
I probably do because he was always there in that 7-8 round when I was like, man, like this could be a number 1 receiver in the late rounds. And I like Geno. And I think Geno does Geno things sometimes, but for the most part, he can complete it to his lead receiver. But I'd have to use my phone to pull it up, but I can't do it right now.
Don't worry about it because you can answer this question without pulling it up. Trey Tucker put up 40-plus points last week, as we all expected. So in regards to what we saw from a breakout of Tucker, I'm of the belief that he has a significant week-to-week role on this team. How much do you think what he did in week 3 carries over? And I'll just put this out there right now. I think Trey Tucker's best game of the year was this past week. I don't think he does anything better than that, but I do think he has these good games. How much do you think his role eats into the production of Jacoby Myers on this squad right now?
I don't think it's going to hurt it that much, honestly. In true transparency, the way that the line is blocking for Genty, they just might be going more passing. That's not on Genty right now. Genty's looked good in some moments when he does get the ball, but to your point earlier, he's getting hit behind the line a lot. But I mean, I think it's more of sometimes like people forget about game plans. Brock Bowers is hurt. They're not trying to hit him. I'm going to say easily that I think Trey Tucker had 9 targets on this game. Probably 4 of those targets he got were because Bowers wasn't getting them because they were trying to keep him safe. So I think he got 4 more targets than he probably ever will get. I mean, and Bowers got hurt in that second game, so he kind of got some more at the end of that game too. I think he's still a safe 6 to 7 targets. I think he might get you 5 receptions. If he pops one off for a long distance, maybe 80 yards. But I still think your touchdown options in the red zone for the most part, are going to be in order. Jainty, if they can get the running going, Bowers, obviously, and Jacoby. And I mean, are you going to take a 5'8" guy, or are you going to take Jacoby Myers in one-on-one? I mean, I'm taking the bigger guy one-on-one in the red zone. So I think the big play capability for Trey Harris just worked. Trey Tucker worked out this week. He just had a good week, you know. I don't think it eats into it too much.
Raiders in the red zone. What a beautiful thought that is. It happens so rarely. Sunny day in Seattle. Steve, I feel very, very strongly about what I'm going to ask you. And I'm not going to share my opinion because I want to hear yours. And then I'll talk about it. And it's a theme that I've beaten on the table about in this show. And so I think anyone that is foolish enough to pay attention to what I have to say already knows how I'm going to answer this. But Zay Flowers, when he came into the league, and still today, I think he's one of the most exciting players in the league. I love the player, love the guy. I once said he's the most he was the rookie that most reminded me of Tyreek Hill that we've had. And since he's come in the league, he's still the rookie that reminds me, or still the newest player in the league that reminds me of Tyreek Hill. What we saw in weeks 1 and 2 is fantastic. What we saw in week 3 is a disappointment. What do you see for Zay Flowers moving forward?
You know, I still think he's going to be a top producer. I don't. Mm-hmm. I think that the last game was the fluke. I think weeks 1 and 2 is what you're really going to see. Let's be honest. Mark Andrews hasn't done squat in 2 years. And then he had the best game I've seen him have in forever. That sounds more like game script to me. Like Detroit, you know, wasn't looking out for him and they knew they weren't going to be looking for him. So they went to him all day long. And you never know. It could have been game script on Detroit's side that they were going to take away Zay, and Baltimore was like, I'm not going to force it to him. You know, so they went away from him that game. I mean, I don't even think he had 1 or 2 targets in the first half, period. Like, I mean, it wasn't even like they were looking his way. That just seems to me more of like game script. I don't think there's anything to worry about Zay. Too electric, you know. And honestly, I love Henry. Look, man, King Henry's the great, but man, he has fumbled in 2 crucial areas back to back. I wouldn't be surprised if they start taking a couple carries away and throw a little more for a couple weeks, just some punishment, you know. Or then again, they could just feed him the rock, trying to get him out of his head. You could go either way, but you know,
he's been a victim of guys coming in and getting perfect punches on those balls, which is highly unusual. And I don't know of any way that he could change carrying that ball, but it's been some perfect defensive plays against him. But let me get back to Flowers. Give me some numbers. When you say productivity, he's going to be there. What are his numbers, catches and touchdowns this year? Just first thing that pops in your mind.
I'd say anywhere between 85, 95 receptions, 1,100 yards, 10, 12 touchdowns.
Okay. I've had him at 75 to 80 and maybe 6 touchdowns, looking more like he did last year. And when you roll back to last year, week 3, 3 for 20, week 4, 2 for 21, week 7, 1 for 11, week 11, 2 for 39, is the inconsistency and the variance of this player, I think, plays into the hands of your quarterback, who can extend the play and give opportunities for many, many receivers to get open downfield. And what you just said about Tucker and Myers, one of the things that you see there is the big-bodied Andrews. You see Bateman, who, despite some of his other skill set, Bateman does a great job settling, both in the middle of the field and on the sidelines. He gives a solid target, and he stays there for Lamar. This is a player that I really love, that I think is overdrafted every year. And Balky, I don't know if you can get that Darren Armani drip and tell us where he ended up going. But, you know, he was so far out of my price point that I never could draft him this year. And I'm kind of glad that I don't have to make the decisions to put him in the lineup.
I will get that information for you shortly here, Ferrell. But I do want to, while I look that up, I'm going to ask an email from Kevin in Adrian, Michigan, who emailed in to ask you a question, Steve. And he wants to know whether Jalen Waddle is a strong start this week against the Jets. And I appreciate the email, Kevin. you look at Waddle, who I thought was going to be a huge part of the game plan on Thursday night, and he really wasn't. He got that touchdown late against the Bills. This is a game where it should not be as lopsided. You would think that the ground game would be more involved. Your thoughts on Waddle? I mean, obviously, Steve, I know it kind of depends on what the rest of your team looks like.
Yeah.
In a vacuum, Jalen Waddle as a second flex or maybe even a first flex in an FFPC league, how would you feel about that?
I mean, I wouldn't hate it, but I wouldn't be optimistic about it. I mean, look, things are definitely going south in Miami. I mean, and let's just say it for what it is. I like McDaniels, but seems to right now look like he's a one-trick pony, that he came in with a bunch of tricky plays with a lot of speed. The rest of the league caught up to him the last 2 years, and he hasn't figured out how to adjust. So teams come with specific packages for that speed. I will say the one person I think that benefits when they have those packages is Waddle, because you're planning for Tyreek, you're planning for A-Chain. Waddle, to me, I feel better about starting him when everyone else is a little nicked up. You know what I mean? Like, there's a question mark on Hill. There's a question mark on A-Chain. Yeah, I want to start me some Waddle because I feel like he's going to get the ball. But, man, right now I'm really glad that I did not draft many Miami players, because the only one I wanted was honestly A-Chain, and I think I had Hill in like 1 or 2 leagues just because of where I got him. But, man, I mean, that offense just looks dysfunctional right now. It looked a little better this past week, but I'm not loving that situation, period. If I can put him on my bench and I got someone better to start, then I am. I'm hoping in that league I draft Adonias from the Bears rather than him, and I'm putting him in that flex rather than, Waddle.
One final email for you here tonight, and Steve, it comes from Larry in Bensonville, Illinois. What's your level of concern, Steve, on the Texans pass catchers, given their poor offensive line so far this season? That is Larry in Bensonville, Illinois. Thank you, Larry, for that email. And I'll expand this a little bit, Steve, and we can include Nick Chubb, and we can include Woody Marks. That offensive line, we knew that they're losing Laramie Tunsil to the Commanders in the offseason, and it's been bad so far. But I don't know. Like, I feel like when we drafted these Texans based on knowing the offensive line was not going to be great, and certainly it has not been great so far. It's been bad, and I don't know if that really affects what I think about these players, because quite frankly, I haven't changed my opinion on many of these guys because I believe this was going to be the situation we'd find ourselves in.
Yeah, I can't figure it out. I mean, true transparency, I didn't have a good feeling about that offense, so I didn't grab them in any league. The only player I grabbed was Chubb super, super late because Mixon had the flag on him, the injury, and look, Nick Chubb, before he got his knee blown out, was a stud. Yeah. But, man, I mean, you talk about the digression of Stroud the last 2 years, he has not looked the same. I mean, Nico Collins is almost valueless if it wasn't for that long pass at the end of the game in the last one. I mean, he's not getting anything. I don't think it has any factor to do with Tank Dell being out at all. I don't think it's because they don't have the speed option. I feel like the play calling is just dismal right now. Like, they can't figure it out. I don't know why they can't figure it out, but I mean, I'd stay away from. I do a lot of like FanDuel and DraftKings. I haven't started a Texan guy yet. Not once. And that is because there's no way I'm going to put money on them. So, transparency, I stay away from them. It sucks, too, because there's a lot of talent there. I mean, let's be honest. Nico Collins is great. Product out of Michigan, great hands. When Tank Dell was going, Stroud out of Ohio State, they all look like all the perfect makings that first year, right? Mm-hmm. But, man, they didn't look too great last year, and they look even worse this year. So, who knows? Was it the first year Stroud just was figuring the league out so quick and they've adjusted? I don't know. But I would definitely be afraid to play him. Anyone on the Texans.
Well, I think you might have leaned into a little bit to what I wanted to ask you about because, I made the gutsy move of announcing that everyone should bench Pittman in week 2. My favorite wide receiver. And I said he would put up 12. He put up 8. Then last week he got back to 20. Bulk, did you see how I got that in there? That was smooth. But
nicely done.
In this week 4, you talked about a couple guys. See if you can give us one more that should be set on the pines. A guy that typically would be played based on draft capital. And then give us this week's Trey Tucker. Give us a guy that should get an opportunity to play and be put in rosters. I've been working with my lineups. I think I have a couple that would not be the chalky pick. So give us one that's the not chalky pick and make you look really smart.
Well, definitely the guy I wouldn't start is Jamar Chase. I mean, that offense looks awful without Burrows. And that hurts me because I drafted Burrows in half my leagues, and luckily I had a good backup in a lot of them. But, I mean, you want to talk about dysfunctional last week. I don't see it getting any better playing in Denver. You know what I mean? Jamar Chase, he may get 6 or 7 receptions. It might be for 13 yards. Mm-hmm. Like, I just don't see. So I would definitely not. I know it's crazy to bench your number one starter, your number one pick, but I'm not starting Chase if I don't have to.
You're not starting Higgins either.
Yeah. But the guy that I like, you kind of already mentioned him a little bit earlier from what I saw in that game. I think KC is starting to try to figure out who else they got. And I think on those 2 plays back-to-back with Tyquan Thornton, man, like that was electric on those 2 plays to the point where he didn't catch the one. They're like, let's do it again. And then he brings it down. I mean, they might throw this ball up deep to him 4 or 5 times. It's going to be everyone else has been able to throw all over Baltimore. Why not KC? And I think they're going to see what they can get away with it.
This is one final question, Steve. I know I said we were done, but I want to throw this out there because it's getting some discussion in the chat right now on YouTube. Ray C, Xavier Worthy this week, who is at home against the Ravens, or Jordan Addison, who is making his season debut across the pond in Ireland Sunday morning against the Steelers. Who would you rather play between those two?
Addison's completely healthy, right?
As far as we know. Not on the injury report at all.
They're playing They're playing the Steelers, right?
In Dublin, yes.
Yeah. That one, man, I feel like they're figuring things out. I think it was way too early to crown McCarthy, in my personal opinion. I think they were stupid. They should have kept Arnold. They really should have. They should have kept him and let McCarthy grow underneath him. He already missed a year for injury. Again, I love McCarthy. He's a great Michigan product. He's a great kid, but he needs some time to learn. I see him more of like an Aaron Rodgers, needs 2-3 years, kind of see how it is, and he's going to pick it up, be really good. That said, Wentz, I feel like he's probably already picked that offense up. We have yet to see a big game out of Jefferson, and I feel like it's coming, and this might be the week that Jefferson blows up for 11 receptions, 125 yards, and a TD or 2. That being said, I don't think Addison just goes ripping. But on the other side, everybody looked better than Worthy, in my opinion, in the last KC game. They're throwing it to Juju Smith. They're throwing it to Kelsey. They're throwing it to Gray. They're throwing it to Tyreek Thornton. I mean, it looks to me like they've already given, Xavier Worthy his shot in the first week or 2, and he didn't really capitalize because of the injury. He was out, right? They were going with Hollywood Brown. A shoulder surgery, I've had 3 of them. I've had 3 shoulder surgeries in my life. Separated shoulder is not a small thing when you jam or anything like that, or it hurts. I don't think they're going to be passing to him. He'll be more of probably a decoy. So I'd say, despite liking Jefferson to have a big game, I like Jordan Addison.
Normally, I would say Worthy in this sense, and the reason I'm not going to is not only, as Permar points out, not only is Worthy going to be playing or expected to be playing with a harness on Sunday afternoon. There was reporting earlier this week that he was expected to play but be a decoy, and I haven't seen reporting done since then on that, but I haven't seen anything to refute that either, whereas I think Addison could come in and make some waves right away. So it's close. I mean, I think both of these guys are flexible this week. Ferrell, I lean towards Addison as well. Do you make it a triple score on this with Addison over Worthy?
I'm not going to fight the genius that I'm here with, and I agree with you 100%. And I happen to like Carson Wentz. So they've installed him in Las Vegas as a 30 or 31 pass attempts. If he throws the ball that much, there's going to be plenty for Addison.
We may have lost Steve. I'm not sure what happened there, and I do.
He said, "The hell with this." He was contracted until 11 p.m. and he's
like, "Look, I'm out." which could be the case. If he pops back in, we'll definitely bring him on. But in the interest of we're already over time here, Ferrell.
What you call an Irish goodbye there?
Yeah, he might have Irish goodbye in honor of the Dublin game on Sunday as well. That's non-zero chance of that. Ferrell, KFFSC.com is where to check out the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship. I want to thank you for all your contributions tonight. And going forward, we will be live again this coming Friday night at 10 p.m. Eastern time when we usher in the bye weeks. And I know we'll have a bunch of new questions from all the viewers that night on some tough start and sit and quite frankly, player acquisition questions as well. Be good. Enjoy your weekend. And we'll talk with you again next week.
See you, Buck.
That is Ferrell Elliott, ladies and gentlemen, and this has been the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. I want to thank Steve LaFountain, the FFPC, Ferrell, Rob, Bryce, and, of course, each and every one of you. We will be back at 10 p.m. next Friday night. Do I have a guest for that yet? I'm looking that up right now just to make sure. Yes, we do, and it is the 5th place Big Gorilla team owner, heading into week 4, Mr. Jason Coe will be our guest next Friday night. Breaking news. I'm just finding this out myself right now. So he'll be joining us at 10 p.m. next Friday. In case you missed the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown this past Tuesday, had a fun little conversation, which you can always check out, 10 p.m. Eastern time. Each and every Tuesday night. Had the 4th place team in the FFPC main event, Mike Edelman, rejoin me on that show. Check it out on the FFPC socials in case you missed it. It's also available anywhere you get podcasts as well. This coming week on the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown, we have the 7-time FFPC champ Ted Rokas making his return to the program. That's going to be a lot of fun. 10 p.m. on Tuesday night. Last night, the Better Sports Network was live with the FFPC Insider Access show. It was myself and Jack Miller from Establish the Run for 2 full hours of fun. That was a lot of fun, great time, and we'll be having a lot of fun for 2 hours next Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern time with one of my favorite guests, C.H. Herms from Optimus Fantasy. Can't wait to talk to that dude again, and that will be at 7 o'clock on Thursday. FFPC Weekly Challenge is live. No draft, no salary cap. Just pick 10 players or 12 players. If you want to start kickers and defense as well, win up to $2,500, 10, 30, and 100 team contests, only 1 player per NFL team. If you want Addison, you can't have Carson Wentz. If you want Xavier Worthy, you cannot have Isaiah Pacheco. MyFFPC.com is where to go for that. For Steve LaFountain, for Ferrell Elliott, I'm Eric Balkman. This has been the High Stakes Fantasy Footballer. Remember to like, subscribe, comment on this video, share with your friends, share with your enemies, and get notified each and every time we go live. Your weekend officially starts now.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com. It was broadcast live and was watched around the world. Balky and Ferrell will be back next week with more analysis, more interviews, and more advice from guests much smarter than they are. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk with you again next week.
One final piece, and I know I've mentioned this a couple of times on the show, but I want to give this as a final reminder. Steelers and Vikings will kick off at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time on Sunday. Set your lineups on Saturday night or very early Sunday morning so you make sure you have those Steelers and Vikings started or maybe more importantly benched on the leagues you don't want to have those players going. And for that 10 a.m. Eastern time waiver wire, Steelers and Vikings will not be available for that. So make sure that you are not counting on acquiring a kicker, a defense, or anybody else from those two teams, and have fun in week 4, a quadruple header on Sunday with Steelers Vikings kicking it off. Then you get the 1 o'clock window, the 4 o'clock window, and of course Sunday Night Football with the Parsons Bowl in Dallas, Texas, with the Packers and Cowboys. Very excited for that. Thanks so much for watching, streaming, listening, everybody. Be good, and we will talk with you again next Friday.